Hey everyone, and welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today for this explainer. Look, what we're doing today is building the ultimate cheat sheet for Indian geography. If you are gearing up to crush competitive exams like the UPSC, SSC, Railway, NDA, CDS, or State PCS, you are exactly where you need to be. We're going to take what can be a pretty dry, complex topic and break it down logically and efficiently.
But right off the bat, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want you to really think about a fundamental question. What is the true foundation of a nation? We usually jump straight to infrastructure, the economy, demographics, but geographically speaking, it's literally the soil beneath our feet. Soil isn't just dirt. It is the absolute bedrock of India's agricultural success, its economy, and its entire geographic identity. If you can understand the soil, you understand the nation.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a really clear roadmap today. First, alluvial and black soils. Second, red and laterite soils. Third, desert and mountain soils. And finally, we'll weave all of that together into one geographic tapestry.
Starting with Section 1, alluvial and black soils, essentially our agricultural powerhouses. Let's get right into it. First up, we have alluvial soil, or as I like to call it, the river-borne breadbasket. Whenever you think of this soil, I want you to immediately associate it with rivers. It's got a very distinct traveling personality, born from India's mighty river systems, and it literally feeds the entire nation.
So how does it actually get here? Well, it's born from the continuous deposition of sediments by massive rivers like the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, and the Indus. Because it's constantly replenished, that constant renewal makes it highly fertile and completely packed with potash. Blanketing the vast northern plains and the coastal river deltas, it provides the absolute perfect, nutrient-dense home for demanding staple crops. We're talking wheat, rice, and sugarcane.
All right, moving on to our second powerhouse, black soil. It's widely known as the cotton champion. And honestly, that catchy title isn't just for show, it is directly tied to a pretty wild geological history.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that unlike those river deposits we just talked about, black soil is literally born from fire, specifically the weathering of ancient volcanic rocks and lava flows. Because of this fiery origin, it's incredibly clayey, giving it a famous, almost sponge-like capacity for moisture retention. It literally swells up when it's wet and develops these deep, deep cracks when it dries out. Covering the Deccan Plateau across Maharashtra and Gujarat, this highly unique environment makes it the undisputed champion for cash crops like cotton and tobacco.
Anchoring these two soils against each other really makes them impossible to forget. It's a total contrast. We've got the gentle, river-borne formation of alluvial soil completely pitted against the intense volcanic origins of black soil. Alluvial gives us the food staples we need to survive, while black soil powers our massive cash crops.
Moving right along to Section 2, red and laterite soils, the distinct and weathered ones.
So first in this pair is red soil, the distinctive earth. I mean, its vibrant color makes it instantly recognizable, right? But what lies beneath that striking color is what actually dictates its value to farmers.
This soil takes its life from the incredibly slow weathering of ancient crystalline and metamorphic rocks. And that famous red color? That's simply a massive concentration of iron oxide. It's basically like the soil is rusting. While it's pretty porous and naturally lacks nitrogen and phosphorus, it forms this huge ring around the eastern and southern Deccan Plateau. Sure, it isn't naturally as fertile as our alluvial friend, but with the right fertilizers, it supports fantastic yields of wheat, cotton, and pulses.
Next up is laterite soil, or the weathered wonder. The backstory on laterite soil is basically an intense geological drama.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the Earth transforms under stress. The formation starts with absolutely brutal weather. We're talking regions that endure alternating dry seasons and incredibly heavy, punishing rainfall. This triggers a process called leaching, where those heavy rains literally wash away the silica and topsoil nutrients. What actually survives this intense, non-stop washing is a really tough, concentrated layer of iron and aluminum.
Because those nutrients are aggressively washed out, laterite is highly acidic. It's kind of useless for farming. Well, actually, scratch that. It struggles with general, everyday agricultural fertility, and it can literally harden like a brick. Mostly found in the Western Ghats and the Northeast, there's a fascinating twist here. Despite that low general fertility, when you manage it properly, it is fantastic for supporting highly lucrative plantation crops. Think tea, coffee, and cashews.
All right, on to Section 3, desert and mountain soils, the ones surviving the absolute extremes.
Let's look at desert soil first, the arid survivor. This is a soil existing in an environment where water is a luxury and the sun is just relentless. Driven by the mechanical weathering of harsh winds and crazy aridity, this soil is sandy, highly saline, and drastically lacks organic humus. Dominating the dry regions of Rajasthan and northern Gujarat, you might assume absolutely nothing grows here. Yet incredibly resilient, drought-resistant crops like millets and barley manage to thrive, especially when we step in and introduce modern irrigation.
Now, on the exact opposite end of the extreme spectrum, we have mountain soil, the high-altitude survivor. It perfectly mirrors that harsh resilience we just saw in the desert, but shifted thousands of feet up into the freezing air.
Let's see how this builds out. Formed high up in forest regions through the really slow, freezing accumulation of organic matter, this soil is densely packed with vegetation. Because of that cold climate, it remains incredibly rich in humus, quite acidic, and highly loamy down in the valley basins. Blanketing the Himalayan ranges, it provides a unique, perfect home for super high-value crops like spices, tea, and specific tempered fruits.
Finally, Section 4, the geographic tapestry. Let's bring this whole thing together.
Now this right here is your ultimate cheat sheet. When you zoom out and view India's soil network as a whole, the nation's diverse agricultural economy makes total perfect sense. You can instantly see how the river deposits create our wheat, how the volcanic lava gives us our cotton, how the heavily leached soils provide our morning tea and coffee, and how the unforgiving extremes still somehow manage to provide our millets and spices. It's like a giant puzzle coming together.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I've got one final, provocative question to leave you with. How does the soil in your very own region shape your local economy, and literally the food on your dinner plate tonight? Geography isn't just some abstract thing in a textbook. It's the literal ground beneath your feet, influencing your daily life in ways you might not even realize. Keep questioning everything, keep learning, and hey, best of luck on your exams. See you next time.